welcome back to Scentuality. Today I want to talk about the piece of software that I currently use for formulating, and that is from www.jbparfum.com, and this is where you can download the software to your desktop. Now this software, at least on the Windows version, because that's what I use Windows, I don't use Mac, I don't know if it's any different, but on this version for Windows, you kind of connect to a server. That's how you access the piece of software, and you have an account. So you put in your username and your password, and then you're straight into your instance of the software. So it's pretty straightforward how to download. You would just click on whatever's relative, read all of the information, and it's fairly straightforward. If I can do it, I think anybody else can. So that's really simple, and then once you've downloaded that into your desktop and you load it up, you get a screen which looks like this, and down here is where we have my instance of the software. So you would click on start, and then you would then open in browser, and that's when you would come to this screen, which is where you would put in your username and your password. So we're just going to log into that. Now what we have is we have the dashboard, and basically what I really want to talk about is just how to write up your formula in this piece of software. There are some sections that I haven't ventured to look at because they just don't interest me, or I don't have a function for them. But on this screen, what we have here is just a sum of all the formulas that I have saved. Suppliers, this is just a section where you can add the vendors from which you buy your oils. Bottles, this is to do with inventory. So bottles that you have, you can log information about them into this piece of software. Same goes for the lids. IFRA entries, I believe this just possibly refers to the IFRA information related that is connected to the oils within the database in this software, but I could be wrong. All ingredients, this is the total number of materials that are stored in this database. So you're talking about synthetic molecules, you're talking about absolutes, essential oils, etc. Formulas to make, this is just organization. This is just basically me making a formula, adding it to a list of formulas to make in the future. So that's basically that. And ingredients by category, I assume this is saying that I have 451 aroma chemicals and 122 essential oils, but these essential oils are also absolutes and resinoids. And on this side, what we have is a pie chart. I don't have colors assigned to these different things, but these are just basically types of perfume, and I have added these names into my instance of the software, and you can add as many different types of perfumes as you like. But that's basically that in a nutshell. If we just go straight to the nitty-gritty, formula management, basically click on formulas. That's a list of all the formulas that you have saved. Compare formulas, this allows you to compare two formulas side by side. This is a really good function. And finished product, this is to do with, this kind of ties into having your inventory, so the bottles that you're using. I guess this helps you to create a finished product, and possibly is kind of aimed at selling your perfume. Not something we need to pay attention to. And sell formula, obviously that is to do with the same thing. But we're not going to look at that, we're just going to look at formulas. Now, as an example, I'm going to use a formula that I've shared in a few videos ago. I shared this apple fragrance, this rosy apple fragrance. And I did two versions, and one of them I had basically made a linear accord of all of the base and heart materials to bring everything, so everything was perceived in the headspace of the perfume. So I'm just going to click on that version now. This will differ from the version that I shared, because in this I have changed the amount of compound that I want to make, so the quantities have changed, so you can just ignore that. But as you can see, it's quite comprehensive to what you can see on the screen. So you have a list of your materials, Then you have the cast numbers. Then you have the purity. So this is telling you that this is at 100%. Down here we have Ambrox Super at 10%, Bacdonald at 10%, and then in the next column it's whatever you've diluted that material with. In my case, everything is DPG. Well, this could be ethanol or another alternative. And in the next column you have the quantity, so the weight of each material. Now, this refers to the percentage of each material that's in the formula, and the final concentration is the percentage of the perfume that you are wanting to make. So this is a further dilution of your overall compound. So this refers to the compound, and this part is basically what the compound will look like once it's been diluted with ethanol. So in this instance we've got 30%, so this is a mega concentration, but as you can see everything is in green, and basically green is referring to IFRA, so it's within the usage level. Blue would be exceeding, yellow means that there is no data for it to tell you whether it's safe or not, and red means it exceeds the usage level. So when you see, for instance, in this column, this is the compound. It doesn't really matter if something is too much in the compound. If this is unsafe in the compound, once you dilute it with ethanol, it becomes safe. And this is a really high concentration. So I think I did this just for demonstration purposes. So I would take this down to somewhere like 15% as an average of what I make when I make a perfume. And as you can see, everything is safe. So yeah, that's basically that. Cost refers to if you added your vendors and then you added the materials that you buy from that vendor, because it allows you to create your own inventory list of the things that you have in stock, then it would take the cost from the cost of 1 gram of the material, and it will tell you how much your compound will cost overall to make. But I haven't really added any information there with regards to that. And then when we get to the next section, properties, what we have here is basically your descriptors for each material. So we have this apple red, and this is a base, I believe, and it's just described as red apple fruity. But pink grapefruit is pink grapefruit, juicy, bitter, sweet, terpene, citrus, other colognes, fresh top notes, pomelo. So you can add your own descriptors, but basically whenever I've added a new oil into my database, I just go to the Good Sense company and I just copy and paste what it says about that oil and I put it in here. That's basically what I do, because previously I would just look up Good Sense. I would go to the Good Sense company's website and then I would just look at each oil. If I've never smelled it before I bought it, and I would get a general idea as to what it smelled like. And yeah, that's pretty much that. Now, what I like about this is the aesthetic. Now, there are lots of Excel spreadsheets out there, and they're great, but I don't really like the aesthetic of Excel. So for me, this really appeals visually. When I look at it, I feel nice and calm. I don't feel like I'm in a mathematical. I'm not really comfortable with maths. So I don't get. I mean, we're looking at the screen. We've got lots of numbers, but I think it's just the nature of the aesthetic. It just sort of reminds me of school, and I hated school. So this just speaks to me more. And I'm used to using things like Cubase or Pro Tools, and this for me is similar. I don't know what it is. It just aesthetically, it pleases me more. I feel more creative. I feel more like the energy is free flowing. And if I look at an Excel spreadsheet, I tend to stagnate. So yeah, this just helps me organize everything in my head. And it's a really nice visual. It compiles lots of information all on one screen and nothing looks out of place. It seems to have been very well thought out. And I really appreciate it. So yeah, basically in a nutshell, that's what that screen refers to. Now down here, this is the compound. Tells you how many materials you've got. It already separates them into the different categories, so top notes, heart notes, base notes, And if we had added vendors, and then we had added our inventory and what was in stock and how much it cost per gram, then it would have a total number in here of how much it would cost to make up our compound. Now this number here, basically if you go up to this section here and you click on amount to make, now this refers to your compound. So this number here, it says milliliters, but just ignore the milliliters. You can't change this on this here, but you can change it in the settings, but it still won't change here, but it's not really necessary. So this is the specific gravity of ethanol, and this you can edit and change, and the amount here, so this is talking about 100 milliliters. Don't be fooled in thinking that that means you want to make 100 milliliters of perfume, i.e. You've got 100 milliliters of ethanol plus your compound. This purely refers to your compound, so it's 4.5 grams of compound would make would fill a 30 milliliter bottle at 15%. That would make it a 15% concentration. So you would have to think about how much compound you wanted to make. So yeah, let's just say we wanted to make 1,000 grams of compound. Update the formula. You always have to remember to refresh the page for changes to take effect. And here it's scaled it as close to 1,000 as possible. And it's changed all the amounts in this section. Now, that's obviously a good thing to know, because obviously you don't have to work it out yourself. It has an algorithm which does that for you. So that's that in a nutshell. Now here this references the percentage of base notes, heart notes, top notes, and we can also look at olfactory pyramid, and this will give you a visual of your perfume, and it has your top notes, your heart notes, and your base notes. So this helps you to visually see what percentages you're working with. Here we're quite base heavy, and then we have heart, and then we have top notes, slightly more, but this I think that all these visuals help. If you're trying to keep everything in your head, everything isn't apparent in that one moment, in that space and time. Different things come to you at different times, but when you have a piece of software like this where everything is just at a touch of a button and you can pull everything up really quickly, it makes you more effective, I find. And that's why I really appreciate software. Software that helps you with your creative endeavors is a really great thing, because it gives you what you never had before, which is like a visual representation of what you're actually doing. And I find that when you can see what you're doing, things make a lot more sense, and you can explain your perfume better. So here we're in notes impact. This basically tells you what impact each material has on the top, the heart, and the base, which I find is really, I love this actual piece of information that it shares with me, because until now I never really understood, like say you get a base, for instance, and because it's made up of top notes, base notes, heart notes, you don't really know where it has the most concentration, whether the bulk of it sits with the base notes, or sometimes a base, especially if it's like a citrus base, it's all going to be like top. It's really useful to know when you make something up and you smell it and you have thoughts about it, you have feelings about it, but you can't really decide why that is. Something like this really helps you to understand why a certain material plays a bigger function at one end of your perfume, or sometimes you can be surprised that it carries to the top and you don't know why. And for the most part, when I've made perfume, I don't know why things are happening. I just know that when I do things, like they have this effect or they work. But I really find that now I'm starting to understand more and more about how it all works. And it basically, for me, it's kind of came from the want to sell perfume and to make it into a business. And since I've done that, I just suddenly all this other information is just coming at me, and it's all the information that I need to know, and I feel very much aligned with this whole thing. But yeah, I just want to highlight that it can really catapult you forward if you start to visualize your perfume and your individual materials and understand why they do what they do and how they do what they do, and it makes perfume easier because you then learn how to use things for their proper purpose in their proper function. And I think that this really is helpful, and it's really useful, it's really beneficial, and I really appreciate it. Now, we've took a look at olfactory pyramid. We'll go back to the formula, note summary. This isn't really something we need to pay attention to. Let's take a look at this section. So if we want, we can just automatically multiply the formula. We can divide the formula by 2. Clone formula just means that literally it clones your formula, so you have the same formula twice saved, and you can edit one, keep one the same as it was. Amount to make, we went over that. Create a code, I have to remind myself what that is in a second. Convert to ingredient, I've never used this. Add to the make list, self-explanatory. Mark formula is made, view history. So yeah, what we will click on is create a code. Top notes, right, what this actually does is it takes your top notes and puts them in a brand new formula, or it takes your heart notes and brings them in a brand new formula. Basically, if you click on top notes, it will delete the heart notes and delete the base notes. If you click on heart notes, it will delete the top notes and delete the base notes. If you click on base notes, it will delete the heart notes and delete the top notes. That's what that does. Underneath that, we have this convert to ingredient. I think this is when you create an accord or a base yourself, and then that you are creating into a material that's in your inventory. I'm just guessing because I've never done it, but I'll click on convert anyway just to see. Name. I'll just keep it that name. Relative or it's because it actually did something when I clicked on it the first time. Okay, so we don't need to focus on this section anymore now, except for the details, but we'll come back to that. And we'll go to our inventory, and let's see if it's actually saved it in our inventory. So we'll go to ingredients. As you can see, this is our inventory. Now what we want to do is we want to search for something. To be honest, to search for something we have to be in formula. It's a lot easier. We'll open up the same formula again. You have to make sure that this is unlocked in order to make changes. So what we want to do is we want to look for our perfume as a material, and now we have it: feminine, apple, relative order, impact, and this is our perfume as a single material. So this is how you make bases and make accords, and then you can save them as a material in your inventory, and then you can use your base or your accord as a single material. So that's exactly what that does. So we'll delete that later, but for now we'll leave it where it is. If we come to inventory and we click on ingredients, the rest of it, we're not really going to go into. Suppliers, you know what that is. You're adding your suppliers. Customers, if you're selling it, you would have information about your customers. Your batch history. Yeah, this is every batch that you make. You can log it here. Bottles, that's your merchant. That's your inventory. Your bottles, your bottle lids, your tops, your pumps, your sprays, etc. So we'll go back to ingredients. So if we want to add an ingredient, we go to add new ingredient. Now you can export your ingredient list to a CSV file. we're going to click on add new ingredient, and what you get is you get this page, quite comprehensive. You type in the name there, then you can put all the other information, the cask number, etc. This is where you would write down what dilution it is, profile, whether it's a base note, a heart note, top note, the type, aroma, chemical base, custom blend, essential oil, etc. Strength, it allows you to choose high, low, medium. Olfactive family, you can put whatever you want in there. Order, this is where you put all of your descriptors in. I just copy and paste these from the Good Sense Company's website, and then you would put notes with regards to that material in there. And that's basically how you add an ingredient to your inventory into the database. The other thing what we need to look at is, so let's go back to formula, and we will pull up that formula again, and what we want to do is we want to just demonstrate adding something to our formula. So you need to make sure that this is unlocked, and you just click on it to lock it. Now it is important that you lock it. Every time you finish with your formula, just lock it, because there are times when I haven't locked it and I've lost it. Somehow something's happened and I've lost it. If you lock it, that won't happen. Just make sure I get into the habit of always locking it. But you need to unlock it to do something to it, to edit it. So we're just going to add anything as an example. Let's add aldehyde C6. Oh, aldehyde is already in there. Let's add aldehyde C12. And let's say, you can choose, maybe we've got it diluted to 10%, so you'll just remove a 0. Choose what you've diluted it with. Let's say DPG, add a random quantity for this demonstration, and then you would click on add, and then if you look down into the list, you will find, can you see it? Because there we go, aldehyde C12, and it's added that to our formula. And it's as simple as that, basically. It's not really a complicated piece of software. It's quite straightforward. And, that is all you really need to know. It is connected to IFRA. Now, when I downloaded this piece of software, it already had information from IFRA, but if you go to the website where you download the piece of software from, it will actually give you instructions on how to go to the IFRA's website and connect their most recent update to this database, and it will update all of the information. I will say though that it doesn't cover every material that is in this database. So some things I actually had to go to IFRA, look up myself, and then I had to add that information to the database, and I had to do that material by material. But that's not something which is hard to do, and it's well worth it, because I'm turning perfumery into a business for me. So I really need to make sure that when I'm coming up with formulas, before they go to the chemist, that they actually are within the IFRA guidelines. So this piece of software comes in very handy for that. I will though perhaps buy a more extensive piece of software, either now or in the future. I don't know, because I think that would be quite expensive, just so I can just have ultimate control over how safe my perfume is before I get it to the chemist. So that's something that I'm thinking about. But this is a very comprehensive piece of software. It's 100% free, so definitely download it. It's useful. I really don't use every component of it. I use this, and I use the Perfumers World software for different things, and I tend to put my formula in here and my formula in there, and that works for me. But this is completely free, so why not download it? You're not losing anything. Actually, what we want to just cover before I end this video, calculation tools, very simple, just simple calculations to work out percentages. Settings, this is where you would decide what currency you want to work in. Group formula by notes or by category. I haven't really done anything with this section except the currency. Let's have a look. Quantity, decimal, how many decimal places you want to work with. Default category 4, that's perfume, so that's what you want. measurement unit, I have it in grams, and this is the pyramid view. So I guess this refers to the structure of your perfume, but I'm not quite sure how it reflects your formula, because obviously you put your formula in, and I assume every formula will have a different percentage. So I don't know why you would set that here. I haven't looked into that. It's not something that I pay attention to. I don't really pay attention to the pyramid aspect of perfumery at all, in terms of how much I should have at the top or in the heart or in the base. I think whatever works, works. Now, something that's useful to know is in this section here, perfume types. Now, this is basically when you're in your formula and you want to make a certain concentration, so a ratio of your compound mixed with ethanol. Basically, it's taking that information from this screen. So if we wanted to, because your perfume won't smell good at every percentage, and if you're like me and you're embarking on a new journey of selling, you're turning your perfumery into a business, then when you're formulating, obviously you have to make several different perfumes at different percentages to figure out at which percentage your perfume smells best. So what you need to do is, basically here we've got an EDP at 20, an EDT at 15, an EDC at 4, and an eau de parfum at 30. So when we are on our formulating screen, we can ask it to make a 20% concentration, a 15% concentration, a 4% concentration, and a 30% concentration. But if we wanted to try our perfume out at 16%, 17%, 18%, 19%, or indeed 5%, 6%, 7%, 8%, and so on and so forth, then this is the screen where we have to change it. So we have to change one of these values, and we have to change it to the percentage that we want to try, and then we basically just press submit. And then when we are in the formula section and we are in our formula, you would go to here and you would click on details, and then you would go to this section, final type. Here it's 100% concentration, so we would select so say we wanted to select 15%. We would select 15%, then we would exit off, and then we would refresh the page, and then we have it at 15%. But if we wanted to change this to 16%, we would have to go back to the settings section, and we would have to go back to perfume types. We would have to change the 15 to 16, press submit, and then we would go back to formula management, formulas, open up our formula once again, and we would go back into this section, click on details, and we would change the concentration to 16%, exit off, refresh the page, and there we have our new numbers. So this is the perfume at 16%, and basically that's it. That's all of the useful information. Compared to a lot of things that are out there, it's a pretty good piece of software. There are lots of Excel spreadsheets, but that's not my thing. And if that's not your thing and you like the aesthetic of this software, then go ahead, download it. It's absolutely free. So thanks for watching. As always, I really appreciate it. Have fun making perfume, and I'll be back soon.